From Daily Trust News Center, this is News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, students stage nationwide strike against ASUU, give government ultimatum. Court declined suspended DCP Bakari bail application. 35,000 commercial tricycle operators register in Kano to beat deadline. And on the foreign scene, UN General Assembly holds special session on Russia's invasion of Ukraine as EU set to reduce its dependency on Russian oil and gas. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Now the news in full. National Association of Nigerian Students has held a nationwide protest against the lingering strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The students, led by the national president, Sunday Asefon, gathered Monday morning at the Unity Fountain National Assembly Federal Secretariat in the nation's capital, displaying various placards and chanting solidarity songs. The protest held in other states including Kano, Plateau, Niger, Jalingo, Taraba, Ekiti, Oyo, among others. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
Strike is a recurring line of action in the educational system as it is currently being perpetuated by Academic Staff Union of Universities. This has led Nigerian students on the streets of Abuja to demand for their right of education.
The protesting students began the protest from the Unity Fountain to other parts of the Federal Capital Territory with the presence of security operatives expressing their demands of the federal government and the striking Academic Staff Union of Universities. President of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Sunday Asefon, while addressing journalists at the gates of the National Assembly, said the Students' Union has given the federal government an ultimatum to meet and resolve the issue with ASUU or face a national mass action by the Nigerian students.
As a matter of urgent, that we want the Speaker and the Senate President to help us intervene on the matter that matters to our life. Yes. Education is a right. Yes. It's not a privilege. Yes. We are calling on them. Yes. They should talk to ASUU. They should talk to the federal government. They should have an equilibrium. They should resolve their differences. We want to go back to school. We want to go back to class. We are tired of being at home.
He described as unfortunate the attitude of the federal government, who he accused of playing hide and seek with ASUU since 1999 when it signed the agreement with the academic union.
We are begging them, the way they are taking our education, the government, the attitude of government and ASUU towards our education system in this country is alarming. We don't want it. We are calling on them. The ASUU should call us strike. If they don't call us strike, we are coming back. If they don't call us strike, we are coming back. Thank you so much, and I'm sure the Speaker and the Senate President will hear this message. We are leaving, but if we come back again, if the ASUU strike the door, if we don't held between now and Friday, permanently, I can assure you, if we come back here, we will not live here.
Student union leaders at the protest joined voices in making their demands heard.
According to the strike that we have in Nigeria here, the ASUU strike is, we totally condemn ASUU strike. It is not good. Education is our right, not a privilege. And if the federal government of Nigeria is not sponsoring ASUU for our education, we don't want them in office. That is our demand for now.
The corrupt system cannot be flushed out if the educational system are not rectified. As I'm talking to you now, I will not stop until I go back to school.
Do they want us to go and start doing year one, they will arrest us, or they want us to become criminals in the street? Let them open the school, let's go to school. Want to go to school. No school, no national assembly. No school, they will close all the offices in Abuja here. We are ready for that.
Now we are on the second week of ASUU strike. Nobody is catering for, nobody is looking to Nigerian students as a critical stakeholder. We constituted the highest population of youth in Nigeria. Nigerian students constituted the highest population. Then why are they not putting us into consideration? If ASUU is fighting for us, if federal government said they are not, they have fulfilled their own part of the agreement, then they should incorporate us is to that stakeholder meeting. Let us see what they are negotiating on. If they are negotiating our future, let us know ourselves. If they are fighting for us or they are fighting for themselves, ASUU should come out and say it to our face, we are tired. Enough of all this madness. We want to be back to our institutions. We want to be back to school. Unilag, FUTA, they are supposed to start examining of this month, this February. Nuga Games is in 20 days' time. Everything is in jeopardy.
Chants of frustration are obviously what is in the voices of the Nigerian students on the street protesting and asking the federal government to meet with the demands of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, just so they can return to school, they can return to academic activities, as they have missed out a lot. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja. Here's a timeline of ASUU strikes. ASUU embarked on a strike on December 17, 2013, which lasted 6 months over non-implementation of 2009 agreements between the union and the federal government. ASUU eventually called off the strike after the federal government agreed to some demands. In 2014, ASUU embarked on a one-week warning strike over failure by the federal government to implement the 2009 agreement and 2013 Memorandum of Understanding. In 2017, ASUU declared another strike action, this time, which lasted for 36 days, and ASUU, however, suspended its strike after a 4-hour meeting with the federal government delegation, which ended around 9 p.m. in Abuja. In 2019, the union said that its members should not be held responsible if there is any disruption in the university system. This, according to the union, is because the federal government had not shown commitment in carrying out the 2019 Memorandum of Action. ASUU, in November 17, 2021, announced its plan to embark on yet another strike in 3 weeks if the federal government continued to renege on the agreement, and the union had accused the federal government of failing to implement the agreement after it called off its 9-month-old strike in December 2020. Protesters thronged to Russian embassy in the federal capital territory, Abuja, to protest against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Parents of Nigerian students affected by tensions between the countries joined the protest as they appealed to the Russian government to stop the war in Ukraine and embrace peace in a bid to allow their children return to school in the Ukraine. Hundreds of people have fled the country since Russian President Vladimir Putin launched an attack on its neighbors, Ukraine. The Nigerian government had, in the wake of the invasion, rolled out plans to evacuate its citizens from Ukraine, although many faulted the move as belated.
Recently, we don't know where they are. We can't account for them. So that is why we are here.
We Nigerian women are come to beg the UK and Russia and the Nigeria embassy and the UK embassy to join together to make peace. My junior sister is there, so they're crying to Nigeria to beg the Ukraine and Russia to make peace. They still love where they still love the town, so they need peace to reign.
We have children there that are schooling. We have businessmen there from Nigeria that are there. But because of this war, it gives us sleepless nights. So that is why we are here, to tell Russian government, Ukrainian government to negotiate and shift swords, give peace a chance. So that our children that are out of school now there should return back to school. The businessmen there should have peace to go about their normal businesses. So that is why we are pleading with them to give peace a chance and stop the war.
A federal high court in Abuja has refused to grant bail application of suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Bakari, who is being investigated over his alleged involvement in a 25-kilogram cocaine deal. The court adjourned until March 15 to hear a fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by Kyari. Trust TV's Madia Omar reports.
Counsel to the NDLEA and counsel to Bakari declined interview with newsmen after the court sitting. Ruling on the bail application on Monday, Justice Iyang Eko held that the bail application had been overtaken by events in view of an order of a sister court granting NDLEA permission to detain the plaintiff for another 14 days to enable it to conclude its investigation.
After deliberations from the Defense Council and also the Prosecuting Council at the Federal High Court in Abuja, the former Deputy Commissioner of Police, Bakari, was not granted bail by the presiding judge, Justice Iyang Eko. Recall that he filed a bail application earlier this month, and also he sued the federal government for the infringement of his right. Justice Iyang Eko has joined the case for the enforcement of his fundamental human rights hearing, which will take place on the 15th of March 2022. But pending the hearing, he will be given the adequate attention, because he also filed one of the reasons he filed for the bail application was because of his ill health. So Justice Iyang Eko said that he will be given the prescribed medication until the hearing on the 15th. Of course, the day of the hearing too, it will be time for the hearing of the enforcement of his fundamental human rights, which he claimed has been infringed upon. So until then, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see what happens at the hearing, which is stipulated to hold on the 15th of March 2022. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And on insecurity, fear grips residents of Kabala community of Kaduna State when an explosion occurred at a hotel within the community. It is not clear what led to the explosion that happened Sunday evening, but residents claim they heard a heavy sound inside the hotel, which was said to be empty at the time of the explosion. Part of the building of the hotel is damaged as the explosion created a large hole on the structure. The residents of the area whose house ceiling is affected, Alhaji Suraj Oyeleke, said smoke billowing made the people outside run for their lives. Fatima Saleh Ladan gives an update.
Hello. According to some background information, the hotel have been sealed for barely a week. Let's get to meet some of the residents of the area in order to get more information about the happenings.
The only notice that I noticed is that it was around 9:30 yesterday night. I was inside my parlor and my children at the apartment. So I heard every sound. So it turned down the ceiling on top of us. So everybody was confused. We don't know where to enter. So we don't know what really happened outside. But after some minutes, our memory calmed down. So we noticed that people are shouting outside. See smoke everywhere, and there's a heavy sound. So now we noticed that there's a bomb blast. That's an explosion. That's all I noticed.
The State Police Public Relations Officer, ASP Jalige Mohammed, confirmed the incident to News Agency of Nigeria. He said an IED is expected to cause the explosion. He said that no casualty was recorded because the place was empty when the explosion occurred. In the same vein, bandits on Monday blocked Mina Suleja around Lambata Kwakuti, stopping travelers from moving for about 2 hours. Niger State Police Command Public Relations Officer DSP Wasiu Abiodun confirmed the incident to Daily Trust. Abiodun said combined team of police operatives and military personnel from Suleja were mobilized to the scene and engaged the bandits while the hoodlums escaped into the forest. He said the road was immediately cleared and normalcy restored for free flow of traffic. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps Rivers State Command wants members of the society to join hands with it to reduce crime in the state, especially oil theft, disaster management, among others. The NSCDC State Commandant Abu Tambuwal made the call in commemoration of annual World Civil Defense Day held in Port Harcourt, Rivers State capital. The report.
Roadwork from the command office in Port Harcourt across major roads in the city is part of the activities lineup to mark the annual World Civil Defense Day 2022. State Commandant Abu Tambol, represented by the State Deputy Commandant SLDK, enjoined officers and men of the Corps to be more proactive in safeguarding all government's critical infrastructure and national assets, as well as in disaster management and rescue operations in its area of responsibility. Deputy Commandant Dike urged the people of the state to join hands with the Corps in promoting the theme of this year's day, civil defense and management of displaced population in face of disaster and crisis, role of volunteers and fight against pandemics.
This is a way of creating awareness for the celebration of World Civil Defense Day, which is coming up tomorrow, being the 1st of March 2022. The World Civil Defense Day is usually celebrated every 1st March of every year. The theme for this year's World Civil Defense Day celebration is Civil Defense and Management of Displaced Population in face of disasters and crises, role of volunteers and the fight against pandemics.
NSCDC is a paramilitary agency of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that is commissioned to provide measures against threats and any form of attack or disaster against the nation and its citizenry. The Corps is statutorily empowered by Act No. 2 of 2003 and amended by Act 6 of 4th June 2007.
Over 35,000 commercial tricycle operators in Kano have renewed their operating permits as Kano Roads Traffic Agency is set to commence enforcement on March 1st. In an interview with Trust TV, the managing director of the agency, Buffat Agundi, says although there is remarkable compliance, some may have to face the law.
Now that I'm talking to you, so we can say more than 2/3 have registered. And we are going to start the enforcement tomorrow, Tuesday, that's 1st of March 2022, for those who do not comply. Because there are some little ones, I believe, who do not comply, so the enforcement will start tomorrow. However, they will not enjoy the reduction made by His Excellency the Governor, because we said to them, anybody who is willing to do it was given a whole 1 month to pay 5,000 for renewal and 12,000 for the new registration. Now it's going to be 8,000 for the renewal and 18,000 for the new registration. So enforcement will start immediately tomorrow. I advise the tricycle riders to carry along their original papers, because we'll start search tomorrow by 12 p.m. We will not give any penalty yet, because the governor have still allowed for those who do not register. We have given them 1 week within which to register, but at the old rate. So we can say that is the penalty, because you have some advantage which you do not use the advantage given to you. So now from 5,000 to 8,000, though it's not a penalty, but in another way we can see it as penalty, because you are adding more from the previous money you had paid.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, royal tussle in Katsina Emirate. Do stay with us.
The idea was to give the interim government confidence that there is somebody, a military man, who is well known, who can be accepted.
You alluded to the case of your son, Umar Farouk. Are you in touch with him?
Yes, yes. He phones us 2 times, sometimes 3 times in a month.
As always, when I'm talking about late Abiola, I still thank my God for directing me on things to do when he gave me that leadership of this country.
Many of you honest Fulanis, you allow this man to cast aspersion on you.
You know, Zamfara is the mother of all bandits.
The biggest problem, if you permit me, is the fact that we have not been able to get the totality of our citizenry.
It's very, very difficult to have a fixed mind like that this one you will hand over to this person because you think he will do better.
I don't see myself under no circumstance
ever leaving APC for another political party. Here on the Mambila Plateau. And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed.
Most people in Nigeria are ignorant of the fact that employing a child as a maid is in fact against the law.
Access to the textile mill has been very difficult.
I believe, or I think that if you want to make money, it should be in a place where there are not plenty of people that can do what you do.
From the way things are happening now, I don't think the two parties will make any impact.
I've been talking about the updates concerning the campaign of Nigerian Super Eagles in Abuja.
Bola Tinubu has informed President Muhammadu Buhari of his ambition to contest for the position of president.
To be self-reliant, a blind man defies all odds to become a carpenter in Gombe State.
The country is now experiencing a fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic with the emergence of the Omicron variant.
Talks are ongoing between NRC management and the union.
Welcome back. You're still watching Trust News Hour. Here are some of our top stories. You heard that National Association of Nigerian Students held a nationwide protest against the lingering strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. You also heard that a federal high court in Abuja has refused to grant bail application of suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Bakari, who is being investigated over his alleged involvement in a 25-kilogram cocaine deal. And in health, Nigeria's Center for Disease Control logged 24 infections across 6 states and the Federal Capital Territory. According to the agency in its update for Sunday, February 27th, the data shows 20 discharges were recorded with no deaths recorded, leaving the fatality figure at 3,142. The country now has a total of 254,525 confirmed cases and 249,013 recoveries. Katsina's emirate is embroiled in controversy following the resignation of Professor Sani Abubakar Lugga as Wazir in Katsina over comments on insecurity. Professor Lugga dumps the prestigious title of Wazir in Katsina after receiving a letter from the Emirate Council querying him over a comment on the state of insecurity in Katsina State. Abdullahi Amadi has more.
Sani Abubakar Lugga, a professor of conflict management, spoke on deteriorating security situation in Katsina State and Nigeria at a lecture on peace and conflict resolution in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, recently. Professor Sani Lugga lamented the incessant attacks on innocent people by suspected bandits, a situation that forced many rural dwellers, including ward and village heads in the affected areas, to flee to a more relatively peaceful places for safety. Those comments from the Wazir in Katsina does not go down well with the Emirate Council, claiming that the professor should have thought for clearance from the Emir before making such comments on issues as sensitive as insecurity. However, in a 4-page letter dated 23rd February 2022 addressed to the Emir of Katsina, Alhaji Dr. Abdulmumin Kabir Usman, Professor Sani Lugga relinquished his title as Wazir in Katsina and expressed gratitude to the Emir and Katsina Emirate Council for giving him the opportunity to serve as the 5th Wazir in Katsina over the period of 22 years. The letter further explained that the professor did not attend the Ilorin lecture as Wazir in Katsina, but as a patriotic citizen of Nigeria, where he expressed himself in the same manner many concerned Nigerians are freely expressing themselves at various forums on matters regarding insecurity. In a telephone interview with the Secretary to the Emirate and the Sarkin Yakin Katsina, Alhaji Ibrahim Mamman Ifo, who is in faraway Egypt, confirmed that Professor Sani Lugga has relinquished his position, or rather his title as Wazirin Katsina. He said the letter sent to the Wazirin Katsina by the Emirate Council was not in any way meant to antagonize him, but rather to give him the opportunity to explain in a clear and simple terms why he made such comments without the clearance of the Emir of Katsina, Alhaji Dr. Abdulmumini Kabar Usman. You see, presently I am not in the country. I am in Egypt, but I learned the Waziri has tendered his resignation letter. It was collected and deliberations are ongoing with regards to his resignation. You see, he is entitled to his own opinion and you cannot stop him from doing that. I believe later in life a lot of things will unfold and a lot of things will be rectified. This is very sad for the Wazirin Katsina, a well-experienced person who served the Emirate for over 20 years, to resign. The Waziri ought to have been very patient, answer the query issued to him, and wait for whatever action from the Emirate Council.
What he says was a naked fact. Even the governor of the state had once complained of the security situation in the state. The district head of other local government did the same thing. And many prominent people from Katsina and outside Katsina state had contributed or had achieved something out of the security situation.
What many people are waiting to see here is to whether consultations, interfacing, and the much talked about amicable resolutions of the matter will see the professor back to retain his title as Wazirin Katsina. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Conduct of election in any country is crucial because it allows citizens to choose leaders who will hold positions of authority. Abubakar Abdullahi speaks with some residents of Lafia in Nasarawa State on the recent presidential assent to the Electoral Amendment Act and what their expectation of 2023 elections is. His report.
In any democratic system, it is crucial that election be free and fair, and to achieve this, it is not only the provision of adequate legal framework, but ensuring implementation to the latter. The Electoral Act provides for the structure of INEC, its powers and guidelines for registering voters, procedures for the conduct of the elections, among others. Speaking on the effort of National Assembly to amend the Electoral Act and subsequent assent by President Muhammadu Buhari, some of the Nasarawa State residents said the action will give credibility to the election process and ensure full participation of citizens. They specifically dwell on some of the sections that, according to them, their amendment will give more confidence to the electorate.
Nigerian democracy, with this development, will grow to another level. We are so happy that the National Assembly has considered it expedient to take such action, and then Mr. President is worthy of commendation. His action is worthy of commendation for agreeing to give his assent to the bill. Is something of joy to the Nigerian electorate. With this development, I expect that Nigerians of voting age should be ready to participate fully in all the electoral processes. There should be no voter apathy, because you are aware that before now, some people will not decide just to stay at home, even when elections are being held, because of the belief that even if they go out and cast their vote, the votes may not be counted. So they become they just sit and watch what is going on. But with this development, we are at least assured that votes will count.
The new electoral law has given 150 days for campaigns. Previously, it used to be less than 150 days. It used to be 90 days, and 90 days is too short for somebody who is contesting or who wants to campaign for the office of the president. It is too short, but augmenting it to 150 days, it will give room for whoever who can go to the nooks and crannies of the country canvassing for votes. Another key thing I see in the Electoral Act that I like the most is when you are contesting election and you are an appointee of government, you have to resign. In most cases, the appointees of government, they will also be appointees of government, they will also be struggling to be delegates in elections.
In his overview of the amendment and assent of the bill by the President, a legal practitioner in the state, Barrister Abdullahi Ubandoma, commended both legislative and executive for the exercise, explaining that with the amendment, citizens will have free will to participate in the election process.
For the first time, we have a president who has listened to the yearnings and the complaints of the electorate in this country. And looking at the amendments of the electoral bill, one will see that it has come up with many innovations that will strengthen our democracy, that will give more credence and make our democracy more acceptable to the people, and as well provide avenue where free and fair elections can be seen to be conducted by the independent umpire, the INEC. So these innovations, to my own humble opinion, it will further strengthen our democracy and make it more impactful to the people and as well the entire electoral system we have in the country.
It will be recalled that after the 2015 elections, there were attempts to amend the electoral law with the introduction of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill in the National Assembly to, among other things, make the use of card readers legal, but suffered setback due to non-assent by the President. Until now that it is assented, Nigerians are hoping that assenting to the bill will bring the desired progress in our democratic system. From Lafia, Abubakar Abdullahi, Trust TV News.
Ahead of the All Progressives Congress National Convention, Northwest youth stakeholders have endorsed Southwest to produce the position of National Youth Leader of the party. Speaking in Kano, the zonal coordinator of the Northwest Youth Stakeholders, Rabin El-Kanawi, said it is a moral responsibility and mission of the Northwest Youth Stakeholders to ensure that the right candidate emerge as the youth leader.
Stipulated by the All Progressive Congress for the National Youth Leader to emerge from the Southwest. It is therefore a moral responsibility and mission on us as Northwest Youth Stakeholders to ensure that the right candidate emerge as the youth leader. There is no doubt that the youth represents the second largest demography after the women in our great party. It then becomes imperative to make our stance known to the youth leadership quest of the largest ruling political party in Africa. The latest progress was the President's readiness to support the youth at the party's convention for elective posts and directive to draft youth into federal boards and committees.
Still in politics, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has said outcome of the People's Democratic Party presidential primaries will surprise Nigerians. He said whoever emerges as candidate is rest assured that the party will rally around and make sure he wins the 2023 presidential election. Governor Wike, while speaking in Port Harcourt, said comments by former Vice President and PDP presidential candidate in the 2019 election, Atiku Abubakar, that he will always clinch the party ticket amounts to taking convention delegates for granted. Governor Wike said he is committed to do anything that will ensure PDP regain power in 2023 and begin once again the process of rebuilding the nation after years of All Progressives Congress poor governance.
I didn't expect him, frankly speaking, to make that kind of statement that he will always take the ticket of the party. That is too far. I went too far and taking the delegates for granted. But people should watch. It would have been a shock as far as PDP convention is concerned. The people should watch. People should watch what is going to happen. People like to underrate so many people. And it's not good in politics. Watch what is going to happen. What people are thinking may not be at the end of the day. We are a law-abiding party. The party will soon meet. The NEC will meet, and then this will find the way forward. How do we put our house in order to make sure we religiously follow the timetable of IBEC, religiously follow the timetable without violating any provisions of the law and the guidelines that IBEC may have produced.
You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after this break.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19 or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
Welcome back. Fuel shortage is taking its toll on motorists as many often sleep at petrol stations just to get unadulterated products at official pump price. Black marketers take advantage of the situation to sell fuel at exorbitant rates. A black marketer speaks with Trust TV on how he beats long fuel queues to get the commodity for resale. Trust TV's Mardia Umar reports.
A common sight along many streets is young boys holding jerrycans and funnels or hoses, or combination of all three. They chase after cars to sell petrol, which they have purchased from the petrol stations. Umar Jibril is one of such black marketers.
So I don't know if they have one no get fuel, but every day with a CQ. With a CQ, me kuma I be black market person. Sometimes me are the happy for down, sometimes me I know the happy because of at the suffer. At the enter police station buy, sometimes at the enter some Okada people now in they buy for me buy me I get something inside. Because of Nigeria don't spoil everywhere in a chua then they.
So you they buy like 3,000 naira. If you can't come outside, you can't they sell on like 9,000 naira. Why? The money not too much.
Not too much for me because of the suffer why they suffer before I get out.
How you they take suffer? You they 90 night now they buy it.
I didn't buy in the night, I did buy in the morning, early morning, around 5. I did buy them from police station, I did buy them from Okada people, I did buy them from people Chua. Yes, Abuja for Abuja here. Some I did buy them for Nasarawa, some I did buy them for Akonga. That is why they suffer to sell higher price.
He attributes his hustle to hardship faced on daily basis in the country. But is there any justification for taking advantage of a difficult situation to milk others dry? Mardia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
In the same vein, motorists in Lagos say they face difficulty before they even get fuel at an exorbitant price. Many motorists spend the night at filling stations in search of fuel in some parts of the state. Take a look.
We are going to 3 weeks now. At the end of the day, the government say it will come down less than 2 weeks, and we are going to 3 weeks today now. Tomorrow, Monday, it will be 3 weeks. We have been suffering for fuel. You can see the queue all over.
What is the time now?
After 11.
In the night?
In the night. Queue for
fuel. How long have you been here, sir?
I'm talking of 3 hours now. Meanwhile, they are discharging fuel. But if they will sell it today, fine. They may say they will sell it tomorrow. That means I have to be on the queue tomorrow. Yeah? They have to listen to masses. Because now I know they will get fuel for their car, for their entourage. Masses, they are suffering. I'm a commercial driver. I'm a transporter. Now, that's the car for airport carrier. Meanwhile, if I buy 250 per liter, if they say 165 per liter, I have to bribe them. We too, we buy fuel for the car, but now they will not listen. So we don't overcharge them.
So how is this affecting your business?
It affects. Because now for me to struggle to enter here, I'll pay. Then now for them to sell fuel to me, I'll pay.
There is no fuel because I have exhausted my fuel. So if I should go home now, I can't come back here. So that's why I said, okay, let me hold on. But they said that this charges some tankers. And some people said that they will start selling by 5 p.m. That means 5 a.m. in the morning. Yes. So that's why I decided to sleep overnight. They just wake me that they are moving again. So that's why
they are going to start selling now.
Yes, because they've started now. Because before there was no vehicle inside at all. That's what we have been experiencing for some weeks now. It's precisely about 2 or 3 weeks. This is what we have been experiencing. And we don't know when it will end.
Let's join Chamunda Bang for business news.
A garnishee order absolute has been granted by Justice Taiwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja. The order is mandating the Central Bank of Nigeria to release the sum of 81.9 billion naira standing to the credit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and its joint venture partner, Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited, in its custody 2 oil-producing communities in Ibeno local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Ibeno communities led by Obong Effiong Achianga and 9 others through their lawyers, Chief Lucius Nwosu, SAN, brought an action against NNPC, Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited and Exxon Mobil Corporation, seeking about 100 billion naira compensation for economic losses suffered from oil spillages caused by the defendants during exploration. In a judgment on Monday, Justice Taiwo dismissed the claim of CBN and ordered it to release funds belonging to NNPC and Mobile to the tune of 82 billion naira to the judgment creditor. The court also stated that it was wrong for the Apex Bank to say it needs consent from the AGF before attaching the judgment debt, insisting the Apex Bank is not a public officer. RT200 Foreign Exchange FX program was earlier announced by Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele. The program is targeted at raising $200 billion from non-oil exports over the next 3 to 5 years. In a follow-up, the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN has pegged the spread or the difference between foreign exchange bid and asking rate of 10 kobo on the investors and exporters I&D window. This comes after the 65 naira incentive for every dollar repatriated and sold at the I&E window to authorized dealer banks ADBs for other third-party users, and 35 naira for every dollar repatriated and sold into the I&E window for own use on eligible transactions as stipulated by the CBN in its latest foreign exchange policy. The rebate scheme is designed to incentivize exporters in the non-oil export sector to encourage repatriation and sale of export proceeds into the FX market. Eligible beneficiaries of the incentive are only exporters of finished and semi-finished goods. Other exporters shall qualify for the rebate only where repatriated export proceeds are sold at the I&E window. Federal Competition and Consumers Protection Commission FCCPC has partnered with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to address the sudden 100% hike in airfare as well as issue of consumer negligence in the aviation sector. Both organizations have set up a joint committee to investigate airlines' compliance with regulatory standards as well as establish whether the increases were justified. Executive Vice Chairman of the Consumer Rights Agency, Mr. Babatunde Erukera, while receiving the Director General of NCAA, Captain Nuhu Musa, in his office in Abuja, stated that the aviation sector remained one of the industries with the highest number of consumer complaints. He further stated that the aviation sector should be the preferred choice of travel given its timeliness and safety, but excesses of the operators had affected patronage. Erukera said that the concerns in the industry borders on fairness to consumers. Captain Musa, however, promised to ensure that service providers within the sector respected consumers' rights in their mode of operations. He said the hike may be unconnected with high cost of aviation fuel and foreign exchange. Development of basic infrastructure at the Calabar and Kano government-owned free trade zones (FTZs) continue to be a challenge for the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority (NEPZA), while over 14.37 billion naira of its budget funds has been lying dormant at the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) for over 3 years. Former acting managing director of NEPZA, Tehemba Nongo, revealed that the government needed over 15 billion naira to bring about 15 million megawatts of electricity to Calabar and Kano FTZs in order to propel the industrial cities to become fully operational. He lamented that infrastructural deficiency had hindered the trade zones in the country from becoming industrial-based centers. Nongo told newsmen in Abuja that Nigerian free trade zones lacked basic infrastructure that could bring development and attract investment into the industrial cities. He, however, regretted that the opportunities created by the present industrial centers were lying dormant because the trade zones were not fully functional due to lack of basic infrastructure like power, water, and access roads. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
Away from Nigeria, as diplomats around the world continue to react to the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, concerns about the implication of the crisis on Africa and Africans in the diaspora has now come to the fore. In this report, Nigeria's former ambassador to the Soviet Union, Jibrin Dada Chinade, and Director of Political Affairs, ECOWAS, Aderemi Ajibewa, expressed concern over the safety of Nigerians in Russia and the possible proliferation of arms and mercenaries amidst the rising coups in the continent. The report.
The world is in the wake of a devastating pandemic, and a possible third world war is knocking at the door. With the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the European Union, Britain, United States and its allies have unleashed sanctions that could see both sides suffer huge economical consequences and by extension the world at large.
Peace on our continent has been shattered.
But even more devastating will be the possible intervention of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, an intergovernmental military alliance of European countries, the United States and Canada. While economic impact may not be direct on Africa, stakeholders say there could be security implications, as seen in the case of Gaddafi regime in Libya.
The tendency that we might have the ripple effect, just like we have the ripple effect in the 80s and 90s in West Africa here. You will see that most of the private military companies and the private mercenaries, they will be a sort of repercussion when the war finishes there. All those equipment that they were using, the war instrument and other things, as well as the personnel, they will want to shift to places like Mali, places like Sudan and other areas. We've witnessed it just like in the case of Libya. After the war, we had a problem here. So the two areas is in the militarization of the West African zone as well. And then there will be what we call the mercenaries, the presence of mercenaries here, and then the private military companies, and then we could see all forms of arms transfer being here, all the arms that are used.
With countries evacuating their citizens from Russia, there is uncertainty over the fate of Nigerians and some Africans in Ukraine and Russia. While the Nigerian government says arrangement is being made for special flight operations to evacuate an estimated 12,000 Nigerians in Ukraine, the question of safety remains unclear amidst the bombardment of military installations and some airports.
Ukraine is so far away from Nigeria. To bring in this huge number of students may be a bit untidy. The government could initiate measures either to move, if necessary, Nigerian nationalities or Nigerian community either from Ukraine to the neighboring states where we feel we can house them. But to bring them to Nigeria, I believe the panic is there, all right, but I believe this withdrawal or asking people to move is part of the Western strategy of diplomacy.
Russia has insisted the only condition for diplomatic engagement is for Ukraine to withdraw its interest in joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, which it considers a threat in the neighborhood.
One of the conditions of President Putin as a result of this dialogue and negotiations going on between Russia and the West and NATO was that there must be a discussion to assess Russian security interest. The Warsaw Pact has been disbanded since 1997. So there is no Warsaw Pact that was confronting the NATO Pact. The Warsaw Pact was led by Russia. NATO was led by America. Now, since the Russians have disbanded their own defense system, they were expecting the Americans at least to hold on to what they had before. In fact, one of the agreements reached between President Gorbachev and President Bush at the time, I was in Moscow, was that NATO will not expand to the West, but they have done so now. And I think it's going to be a very difficult diplomatic discussion.
After recognizing the two separatist states in the eastern Ukraine as independent, Vladimir Putin has launched what he calls special military operations targeting military bases in Ukraine, a move considered a violation of the Minsk Agreement and United Nations Charter, to be met with very heavy sanctions.
United Nations General Assembly has opened a special emergency session to discuss Russia's invasion of its neighbor. UNGA President Abdullah Shahid led the UN's 193 members in the moment of meditation before calling for an immediate ceasefire in the conflict. Monday's session of the General Assembly comes after Russia vetoed on Friday a U.S.-led draft Security Council resolution that would have deplored in the strongest terms the Russian Federation's aggression against Ukraine. Meanwhile, the European Union foreign policy chief says the bloc faces an existential task to reduce its dependency on Russian oil and gas and move to renewable sources and hydrogen in the wake of Moscow's attack on Ukraine. About 1/3 of the natural gas used by the EU is currently supplied by Moscow. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron has told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to halt Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. Macron also urged Putin to stop all strikes on civilians in Ukraine, preserve the country's civilian infrastructure, and provide safe access to key roads, especially south of the capital, Kyiv. Still on the foreign scene, Ukrainian and Russian officials wrapped up a critical round of talks Monday near the border with Belarus. Officials from both countries said the sides could hold more negotiations amidst Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine's armed forces continue to hold off Russian troops, defending and retaining control of key cities and slowing Russia's advance on Kyiv. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Russia more than doubled its key interest rate on Monday as the ruble plummeted after heavy sanctions were imposed on Moscow by the West. The Biden administration again pushed back on Russia, placing its nuclear deterrence forces on high alert as the State Department on Monday said it will not indulge in rhetoric about the threat of nuclear weapons. In another development, UEFA has ended its long-standing sponsorship partnership with Russian state-controlled energy giant Gazprom. The sponsorship deal has been in place since 2012 and has been reported to be worth around 40 million euros per season. Similarly, the FIFA Council and the UEFA Executive Committee have suspended all Russian football teams, national representative of club teams alike, from participating in both competitions until further notice. In sports, Daniil Medvedev succeeded Novak Djokovic as world #1 on Monday, becoming the first man since 2004 outside the game's Big Four of Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Andre Murray to occupy the top spots. U.S. Open champion Medvedev is the third Russian man after Yevgeny Kafelnikov and Marat Safin, and 27th player overall to rise to the top of the ATP rankings. The 26-year-old Medvedev, beaten by Nadal in the Acapulco. Okay, I'll take that again. The 26-year-old Medvedev, beaten by Nadal in the Acapulco semi-finals last week, is guaranteed to move above Djokovic after the Serbs' quarter-final loss in Dubai. Djokovic, who has spent a record 361 weeks as #1, is competing in his first tournament of the season following his deportation from Australia in January. Alexander Zverev stayed in third despite being thrown out of the Acapulco, even after smashing his racket on the umpire's chair several times during a doubles match, while Nadal rose one place to fourth after claiming his third title of the season and 91st of his career. The Spaniard is unbeaten since losing to Lloyd Harris in Washington last August and ended his 2021 season after that because of a left foot injury. Let's join Adeni Ajishafe for more update.
Olympian Ayomide Bello of Bayelsa State and Michael Moses of Delta State emerged overall champions in female and male categories of the 2022 Admiral Pobeni National Boat Race in Abuja, with 120 athletes from 13 states of the Federation. Team Delta finished first with 28 medals, 11 gold, 10 silver, 7 bronze. Team Bayelsa State hauled 13 medals, 4 gold, 4 silver, and 5 bronze medals in second place. Ayomide Bello won gold in 200 meters canoeing and 500 meters event. Bello broke her own record of 50.00 seconds in the 200-meter women event, set at the Morocco 2019 African Games, when she returned a faster time of 42.90 seconds in the same event at the 2021 Admiral Pobeni Boat Race. Paramote Pere and Bello Ayomide won mixed doubles in canoeing in 200 meters and 500 meters boat race, while most of the athletes have been invited for African Rowing Championships later for Tunisia in March. In boxing, Lawrence Okoli defended his World Boxing Organization cruiserweight belt with a comfortable win over Michael Cislak at London's O2 Arena, with 6,000 fans in attendance as Okoli floored Polish challenger in the 5th round. Not at his best in a bout where both men grapple and hold. Judges' scorecard read 117 to 110, 116 111, and 115 112 in favor of Okoli, who walked to the ring alongside former heavyweight champion and mentor Anthony Joshua and UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. World Boxing Organization cruiserweight champion Lawrence Okoli moves to 18 wins from 18 fights as a professional boxer. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
We've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.